Hi, how you doing? This is Law from TMCCTV. Today I'm going to talk about how does remote viewing works. This is just a quick overview to explain how it really works. This will help you understand what goes on when you're trying to remote view and give you a better understanding. So if you're running into any issues, understanding it will help you troubleshoot the issue. We are going to start releasing step-by-step videos, so you can have step-by-step instructions on how to put your DVR online so you can view it anywhere around the world. But first, let's talk about what happens when you want a remote view. Basically, the first thing anyone does is they connect it to their router. And when it's connected to your router assigns it an IP address, which is right here, for example, 192.168.1.3. And any other devices, like let's say a computer that's connected to that router, it also gets a unique IP address too. And there's two sides of a router. So let me divide it in two. There's the inside right here, inside network and outside network. On your outside network, you only have one IP address, and that's called your external IP address, your outside IP address. I just call it external IP address. But on your inside network, it has multiple IP address. Okay, and these IP addresses are only unique within your network, and they only work within your network. So let's say we're trying to type in our DVR's IP address, away at another location. So let's say this is, my business, and this was my house right here. And let's say I open up a Internet Explorer browser and I type in this IP address. What's going to happen is this is going to get rejected right when it goes to the internet. So right when it gets to this point right here, it gets declined because no private IP address or inside IP address are allowed to go out to the internet. It's only external IP address. Okay. So if you're inside your network though, so let's say I'm on this computer right here and I'm typing in this IP address, it'll pull up the video feed with no problem, with no port forwarding or anything like that. It's basically plug and play. I can plug up my DVR and I can get on a computer on the same network and I can type in the IP address and it works. Works just fine without any issue. So basically, what we talk about so far is, there's the inside network and outside network. There's no port forwarding required when you're inside network. Traffic is free flowing. You can view your videos, and you can't type in your inside network IP address on a completely different network. You have to be in the same network. So that's when remote viewing come into play. Most people want to remote view at an outside location, at a different location. So that's why you have to do something called port forwarding. Now, port forwarding takes place in your router. You do have to adjust some settings in your router to make it work. So if I want to do port forwarding, I would go into my router and I'll find the ports that are needed. And for R2M DVR, it's going to be port 80 and port 6802. Okay? 6802. I'm using Paint, so bear with me. So let's say before we go into port forward, let's say we didn't port forward any ports on our router, and we were trying to type in this IP address. What would happen is there's a couple of issues that would happen. So let's say I open an Internet Explorer on this side and I'm typing in this IP address right here. When I type in that IP address, what would happen is I'll type it in, it'll go through my router, go to the internet, and it'll stop right here. Remember, we have multiple devices, so how would a router know where to send that traffic? It wouldn't unless you tell it to. So with multiple devices connected and with only one IP address to communicate to, what will happen is it'll get declined. Because remember, we can't type in this IP address right here because this IP address only works within this side. So that's where port forwarding comes into place. To make it work, what we have to do is we'll tell our router to send, open up port 80, allow port 80, and allow port 6802 And when we allow it, we mean just send any data, that any traffic that we get that has these ports. We're telling our router, just, hey, go ahead and just send it to this guy right here, which is our DVR. Send it to this guy. So when we open up those ports and we type in this IP address with the ports open, what's going to happen is it goes, you type in through Internet Explorer, goes through our router, goes through internet, goes to a router. A router will find out it's traffic's 80 and 6802, and it'll go through its port forwarding and said, hey, I'm supposed to send to this DVR. It sends it to DVR. DVR replies back with the video feed, and it'll pull up to our web browser. And that's basically how remote viewing works. That's basically what goes on from overview of it in a nutshell on how it works. Make sure you tune in. We're going to be releasing step-by-step videos on how to get your DVR up and running so you can view it from any computer around the world and your smartphone. So make sure you check that out on our YouTube page and visit our website www.2mcctv.com.